A 10-minute presentation for myself actually before we go into the round tables again. Last week we took part in a 48-hour BIM challenge. It was actually project managed by BIM Academy at Newcastle, and a number of the Northeast construction companies took part. Sponsored by A-Site, the challenge was, if we give you a brief, how well developed a BIM can you create in 48 hours? There was 41 countries around the world took part, and it was really good fun. And I think personally it was the best training exercise you could ever have, networking, fantastic. So our team, project managed by BIM Academy, had a whole host of different disciplines. So the architects, service engineers, cost consultants, software developers, landscape architects, and we really focused on trying to win the best collaboration award. So there was an overall prize and then different awards underneath that. So right from the start we thought collaboration is where we want to focus. And so we could really get cracking on day one. So first hour of the 48 hours, we had 2 project team meetings leading up to the big day. And what we tried to do there was really plan out the 48 hours in advance to make sure we all understood what technologies we were using, what level of detail we were going to try and achieve, what the program was, what the milestones were. So whatever was thrown at us with the brief, we sort of knew what we were actually trying to aim for. The importance of that sort of BIM execution plan were really sort of shortened into a 48-hour period. And then we got the brief, which was maybe a couple of sides of A4. It was a Kobe data drop 1, and an IFC model of was actually an island, a man-made island off the coast in Qatar. In the first couple of hours, we didn't use any technology other than sort of felt pens and pencils and sort of the whiteboard. And what we learned from a previous challenge was you had to make the building look nice, but not too nice, because in 46 hours it would be really hard to actually model. So it's that little bit of pragmatism about creating a building that looks impressive without giving yourself such a hard job to do in the shortened time frame. And then very quickly from that, then move on to the computers. So build up a quick sort of mass model and do some basic mass analysis about like sort of daylighting and where the wind comes from, etc. And then it was a case of breaking down into the disciplines for the design. So the landscape architects were working on their separate model with the same coordinates as service engineers, structural engineers, and we had 2 architectural models. So everybody sort of knew the rules and were working on data sets that would come together nicely. And then what we did, we created the federated model from that and pushed it up to the A-Site server. And on the A-Site server they actually had the sort of free IFC viewer. So you're coming from different design packages all together to create an IFC model, which could then be looked at by the client, which in this case was A-Site, and they could judge the design as it developed. And what we can see here, it's a very early concept stage, so probably table 1 for the discussions today. So we can just sort of roughly see the shape of the building. And before we uploaded it to A-Site, we used tools such as Tekla BIM Sites and Celibri to just sort of check that it all came together properly before we were prepared to put it up there on the extranet. Then it sort of went to the next stage where we sort of knew the rooms and a little bit about what the room usage would be, and that allowed further analysis, the sort of daylight of the room, structural analysis, radiance, and maybe a little bit of pedestrian analysis. All quite light touch. Sort of 48 hours isn't very long, but sort of given the idea of what sort of thing that can be done. And then we managed to do a couple of Kobe data drops. That's the sort of UK government open data format for just purely the information. The first data drop we did was the spaces, which talked about the space usage, the classification of those spaces, and also the volumes and floor space. And then later on in the project we did a second Kobe data drop, which looked at maybe some of the main components such as doors and windows and sanitary ware and which spaces they were in. I think personally more of a challenge with Kobe is when you start to get to the level of detail inside the components. How much do you want? How do you filter it out? And that's the sort of thing we're talking about at Table 2, Table 3 today. And I think that's going to be one of the really big topics of conversation in BIM as 2013 develops. On the specification side, the NBS put a sort of mini team of 4 people, and we looked at automatically generating an NBS create specification from that sort of slightly more developed model, keeping that coordinated with the geometric model, and putting in a little bit of the sort of performance data. So the screenshot at the top right there, which shows walls in red and some annotations, they're concept National BIM Library objects, but just with some of the key performance parameters such as fire ratings and acoustic ratings in there, and a little bit of colour coding so you can scan across the floor plan and see what's the 2-hour fire rating, what's the 1-hour fire rating. Little screenshot here just showing how the service engineering coming together with the building fabric. So quite nice little visual. And then we had a sort of separate team up at BIM Academy looking at how you could potentially plan the construction of this building. So trying to break it down into, can you break the floor slab up into when it would be laid, and also generating reports from there. In particular, there was a very strong costing report. We had a guy from Turner and Townsend there who've actually got an office in the Middle East, and they have Qatari cost data. And I think he went 48 hours without sleep and produced a ridiculously detailed cost plan, which I think was amazing. And then just some pictures to finish off. So the team was BIM Academy, Colour Landscape Architects, Cundall did service engineering and structural. We had Mark McDonald for a bit of sort of civils, NBS Ryder and Turner and Townsend not shown. And then just a few of the sort of final visualizations that popped out the other end at the end of the 48 hours. So I don't think it's going to win the Sterling Prize, but we were quite happy at the end of the 2 days to have so much to show. And yeah, fortunately we actually won as well, so we're delighted with that. I think previously an American company had won. There'd been a sort of team from the Netherlands, one from Malaysia. So it was great to have a UK company actually winning this competition. So yeah, last week Claire sent an email and said, oh, do you mind just doing a quick 10-minute overview, and maybe at the next Think BIM event we might get the BIM Academy in Cundall to do maybe more of a detailed presentation that shows a bit more than just the sort of highlights that I've shown there. So thank you very much for that quick chance to show that off. And now if we could have 45 minutes, 50 minutes at the round tables again. So just as a reminder, it's the concept design at table 1, then develop design,